Big Al's Rant with Cayden McFarland, powered by Jack Cassee Ford.
And hello, my friends. Welcome to another Rant. Cayden McFarland, Al Jerkin. Zach's in the house. Zach is here. Explain yourself.
I am here for the social media angle, so you guys can comment on Facebook.
Come on in.
Want to hear what you have to say.
All right, now we'll have to explain ourselves to the reason why we're here.
Bedlam week is here.
All right.
And what
By the way, no formula? Where's your formula sheet today?
The college football
No, you and
playoff.
OSU not going to get in the playoffs
the
now?
Big 12 and the college football playoff. I said earlier today, the Sun Belt champion has the exact same chance of making the college football playoff as the Big 12 champion. That would be 0. Nobody lost. Ain't happening.
No.
Ain't happening. No way, no how. But
3 Big Ten teams getting in?
It's Bedlam week, and what a way to kick it off. Tyreek
Yes.
Hill with the kick return
Yes.
in the NFL game.
Punted
Kansas
again,
City,
Bob.
and of course 2 years ago. Yeah, punted again, Bob.
All right.
So here we go. Bedlam's here. It's for the Big 12 championship. The line on this game
How
shocked me
crazy
today.
is that?
13
Give
is what
me
it opened at.
OSU and plus 13.5.
No
I'm
joke.
saying that right now.
Wow.
Give me OSU plus 13.5. Now, that doesn't mean I think OSU's going to win the game necessarily, but getting 13.5 points,
Seems like madness.
holy cow.
You expect a close one, as I do?
Yes, the first to 60 wins.
So you expect a shootout and a close one?
I got a text from Jimbo Elrod, my buddy, my defensive guru. He says, take the over.
Whatever it is.
Whatever that would be.
And we haven't seen a number on that yet, but I mean, you would think it's got to be 75, 80, right?
Well,
I mean, the way OU especially finds
Can't
it.
play defense?
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
OSU can win a game, I think, against OU where it's not incredibly high scoring. For OU, I think that would be quite difficult because I don't see this OU defense holding anybody with a pulse under 28 and anybody as good as OSU under, say 35. I just don't see how OU does it.
All right, give me an over and under on how many punts you'll have.
Oh, there will not be very
3?
many punts. The punt it again Bob thing will not become a problem. Yeah, I mean, I would say, actually, you know what? I think there will be a few stops, but there will be a lot of possessions because both teams go fast. There won't be more than 6 punts, I don't think.
I'm saying that's
some.
extremely high.
That
6
seems high to you. Look, it's Bedlam and kind of crazy things happen. So, and a lot of times when we just know for sure that a game's going to be high scoring, sometimes it does go the other way, but not really in the Big 12 2016, right? I mean, for the most part, that is unheard of.
It just never ends. Yesterday, a team that OSU beat scored 75 points yesterday. 76 points yesterday.
Highest scoring game in college football history, Pittsburgh 76, Syracuse 61.
Whatever happened to the Cumberland College losing to Tennessee 206-0?
We're not far from it. We're going to run
that be the
thing down.
highest?
Listening to commentators yesterday, you would think the Big Ten is the only league that even knows what defense
3
is.
Big Ten teams are going to get in the playoffs.
You're just trying to make me mad, aren't you?
Yes. Well, it's Rant, man. We had a bye
Ohio
week.
State is the best team in that league. That league is
And they're not even playing in the conference championship.
But if Washington and Clemson both win this weekend, I am going to lose it if Penn State, Wisconsin.
What if Clemson gets beat?
Well, then, okay. Then
3 Big Ten teams are getting in.
There's a chance at 3. Certainly 2 would be very likely, you would think.
But
if Washington and Clemson both win, and you have one loss, conference champions from major conferences, and they put 2-loss Penn State or 2-loss Wisconsin in ahead just because they won that league, oh, my word, I'm going to be angry.
You're going to go nuts?
It would be unjustifiable. And here's what I said. Yes, the Big Ten handled its business for the most part in September.
But see,
Penn
it was
State
all
did
rigged.
lose to Pittsburgh.
But it was all rigged. From the very beginning this poll came out, it was all rigged and fixed for the Big Ten to succeed because there were 4 Big Ten teams in the top 8. So when these teams played each other, it was counted. Look at how far did Michigan fall?
To 5 in the AP.
In the AP poll. There'll probably be 6 in the
3.
playoff poll. Washington will be 5, right?
Yeah, Barry Alvarez is doing some amazing
work. Where's Wisconsin
work.
fall into this?
Nobody's fallen very far in the Big Ten. And
that's my
here's
point,
the thing,
because
though. OU had Ohio State on their field. That was the biggest, most damaging loss of the year for the Big 12. It's a shame
Actually,
that's how it is, that you get punished
You know what?
for scheduling tough. Houston was probably every bit as big.
I was just going to
But with
say,
regard
I understand
to
the
Big
Ohio
Ten's
State
reputation and what we're talking
I
about
get it.
here with the Big Ten getting three teams in.
But Houston has.
OU losing to Ohio State was the most damaging.
No, I think OU could have survived losing to Ohio State had they not lost to Houston.
I understand that. What I'm saying is, with regard to what we were just talking about with the Big Ten potentially getting three teams in, and everybody out there saying the Big Ten is the best league there is. If OU had just beaten Ohio State, it would be different. It would be completely different. No, they didn't even.
It'd be different if it were a bad call on a 4th down and inches.
No,
we had yesterday.
They beat the snot out of them.
Listen, I know Harbaugh gets nuts. I know that. And it irritates me, but I have never seen where a coach gets called for a personal foul for throwing a headset. Because if that were the case, Nick Saban would be penalized every single game.
I've seen coaches draw that call. It's very, very rare, but it's usually much more egregious. The temper tantrum, let's put it that way.
You've got to go out onto the field. You've got to go out onto the field and do all this.
Yeah, agreed.
I
think his reputation probably preceded
exactly.
him.
It was a Bush
things he had said earlier in the game.
And you didn't think it was a bad spot. I thought it was a really
I only saw it once
spot.
at full speed, and it seems about right to me. But if I need to see replays. Apparently.
Well, the guy who made the spot had his back to the football because the ball carrier, it was Barrett, right?
Yeah.
Had the ball in his hand like this, and the ref behind him was spotting the ball. The ball did, in my opinion, did not go far enough to get the enough yardage for the first.
So
time.
Alabama, Ohio State already in.
How about going for it though?
Sure, yeah, gutsy. Love it. Love it. He's a fantastic coach.
You got, even if Clemson somehow loses the ACC championship game they're in?
No, probably not.
Three Big
the way they've played down the stretch. Well, I mean, you're assuming now that Washington's not going to win or Washington's not going to get in.
Here's the scenario though. Washington, let's, for argument's sake, Washington loses to Colorado.
Well, now
let's assume Clemson loses the ACC championship game.
Yes.
Who's in line to get?
It'll be Big Ten over Big 12, no doubt.
See, because Michigan and Ohio State are not even in the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah.
Which
what you're getting at, and I agree with you, it would be Alabama, Ohio State, winner of Penn State, Wisconsin, and then Michigan ahead of the Big 12. And that's why I'm saying we got the same percentage chance as the Sun Belt. The Big 12 has no shot because they value Michigan's body of work. And we'll see this on Tuesday when the rankings come out. I guarantee you, even after the loss, Michigan will be ahead of OU and OSU. And even with the Bedlam victory for whomever that may be, it's not going to be enough to get them over.
How much love is Washington going to get after beating Washington State? Are they going to get as much love as Michigan going to overtime? And there's going to be the argument in the conference room. I can see it now. They're going to, the folks that think Michigan should be high, shouldn't lose any ground, is because of the bad call or perceived bad call at the line of scrimmage.
So are you saying you think Washington doesn't jump Michigan this week?
I think it's going to be close.
Wow. I do think Washington jumps Michigan, and if Washington wins, I think
I wouldn't be surprised if that happens, but I'm just saying that there's going to be arguments to not penalize Michigan that much.
The only thing that could get me to root for Alabama in the college football playoff or at any time would be 3 Big Ten teams in there. You put 3 Big Ten teams in there, and I am saying roll Tide. Beat the snot out of these guys. I'm sick of the Big Ten at the moment.
Is there a rule that you can't have 3?
No. No, there's no rule. And it is.
Penn State is so overrated right now.
Just to bring it back locally.
Penn State is so overrated.
To put a bow, I couldn't agree more. To put a bow on this, what we're saying is there is a better chance, maybe a much better chance, that there are 3 Big Ten teams in the college football playoff than there is that even one Big 12 team makes it.
All right, we don't want Zach to
sobering.
Feel left out here.
No, that's okay.
Zach, anything?
Hey, guys. A couple of comments. Greg says Big 12 has 0 chance of making the playoff.
Correct.
John says OSU never wins when something big is on the line.
Oh, let's get into that.
Whoa.
Okay.
Whoa,
good.
The old poke choke thing.
Oh, don't say that. Do we think, I know that last year OU beat them by 35, but I'm sure we both agree that OSU was a mash unit at that point. Just did not have the horses to play with OU, and OU was hot red hot.
Did he give a reason as to why he
didn't
just
say
flat out
why.
said that
He just
said
made the
that to stir
statement.
trouble, right?
So, do you think that the Tyreek Hill thing and OSU upsetting OU 2 years ago when they had no business doing it, do you feel like I do that Gundy's kind of over the hump with OU?
Yes.
I'm not saying they're just going to start winning
Absolutely.
in this rivalry over and over.
Yes.
But I don't think
OSU all
they're in his
season
head
long,
like they used to be.
except for maybe 2 games, have come up with an excellent game plan. I thought OSU's game plan in the loss to Baylor was excellent. They just didn't. They fumbled at the wrong
right.
time.
Yes.
I thought their game plan, and in fact, that's what
that's a good
Gundy
point.
was all mad about, the fact that they had a great game plan and they didn't come out of there with a victory. I thought in situations like that, I think they have come up with tremendous game plans.
I think that Oklahoma State's defense has been a bit of a disappointment for, and we're looking at last year's game, by the way, video of last year's game. Oklahoma State's defense has been a little bit of a disappointment for me, not quite as good as I thought they would be.
Yeah, but
don't you
OU's
think,
defense has been horrendous.
Absolutely. And don't you think going into this game, without a doubt, regardless of what the numbers say, OSU has the better defense? I mean, that's a pretty good thing to have going into Bedlam.
Yeah,
and for OSU, I don't think they've been able to say that very often through the years, right? Do you think OSU's defense is better than OU's right now?
Yes.
Vincent Taylor up front?
Let
The front
me
seven is solid?
propose this, though. Is OSU's defense good enough to stop OU's offense?
Probably
I don't think
not.
OU's defense is good enough to stop OU's offense.
Right.
And see, I think that's where you're really falling into a difficult situation because OU's offense is so balanced and so well-rounded, whereas OSU has just seen a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel in the running game. Now, collectively, wide receiver-wise, OSU probably has the better of the two.
Yeah.
But I think it's a horse race between Washington and D.D. Westbrook as far as a playmaker is concerned. But OSU doesn't even have anything close to the Pirine-Mixon combination.
Exactly. And what I would say is, in my estimation, OSU actually has more areas of strength on their team than does OU, which is rare in this rivalry. I think OSU has more areas of strength, but OU's areas of strength are so strong that if they leverage those strengths, they probably are the better team. And I'm talking about Pirine, Mixon, and Mayfield and Westbrook. When I say that OU's strengths are just so strong that those few players can probably swing this game, it wouldn't surprise me at all if that was the case.
Here's my, if OSU has to punt more than 4 times, they're going to get beat.
You could be right, because this OU offense
OSU has to score on just about
thing,
every
pretty much.
possession. And I think they have a chance to keep Rudolph clean. I think they have a chance to score or get, obviously, interceptions and turnovers, fumbles are going to kill them, and vice versa. But I think OSU has to keep Rudolph clean. And I don't know of OU, if OU has a pass rush to get that done.
So you don't see Vincent Taylor, who may be, the defensive player of the year in this conference, you don't see him as a guy who can make a difference against that OU offensive line, which has been great.
I think you need more than one
Mixon.
I think you need more than one star player to beat OU's
what kind
offense.
of score are you expecting in this ball game if you were going to put a final score on it?
56-52.
Whoa, you're going really high.
That is a lot of people agree with you, too.
Is that right? People have it in the 50s?
Yeah.
I've been thinking more 42-38. I think there will be some
Weather
defensive
will have
stops.
something to do with it. If it's wet, maybe. But that hasn't, weather really hasn't stopped anybody either. So, no,
And
I
we
think
have
it'll be.
seen really high scoring
But
Bedlam games
in my opinion, 13.5 is way too much.
I couldn't agree more.
I'm not going to say I'm a Vegas guy, and I don't know the ins and outs. I know why they make the point spreads, so they can get people to give up more money.
Yeah,
But
they know what they're doing.
all right, quickly on TU before we get back to the ball game. What a cliffhanger on Friday. Went to overtime. We predicted it, didn't we? We predicted overtime.
Sure, why not? I texted our man DT, Media Relations. How long's DT been there at TU now?
He's been at TU longer than I've been at Channel 2.
That is amazing. I said, has anybody won more than 3 overtime games this year? And he did the research. TU leads the country in overtime victories.
See?
Nobody else even has 3.
How does Lucas's catch not make the top 10.
Yeah, that's coming up. Is that right here? Here it is. Take a look at Cayden Lucas.
This doesn't make the top 10 plays of the night.
That's marvelous.
See, you know,
his final game at Chapman Stadium, and he comes up with that.
Montgomery's right. TU gets no respect. How can that catch not be a top 10?
It was on ESPN's Family of Networks. I'm with you.
Oh, you mean they had the video?
Yeah, they had the video. I mean, there's no excuse. It's not like it was on Fox or
something. That crazy field goal
something.
could have been on there, too.
That was bananas, wasn't it? Have you ever seen that you can remember?
Nope.
The boing boing?
Nope.
Look, this team won 3 overtime games. The margin for error is slim. I think that it always will be at 11th and Harvard. But the thing that Philip and by the way, I do want to give Bill Blankenship some credit because a whole bunch of guys he recruited, and when he left, people told me the reason he was gone is because Todd Graham recruited at a level that Bill Blankenship couldn't. He had proven that. Well, I'm not so sure as this team now stands at 9-3. Bill Blankenship brought in some really good players, but we got to give Philip Montgomery a ton of credit for getting these guys who had gone 5-19 in the 2 years prior to believe. They believe they are going to win.
The freshmen on that 11-win team are the seniors that were introduced before the game.
What a crazy college career those guys had, right?
So, yeah.
They come in, win a conference title, win 11.
I don't cringe, but it just amazes me how people, even TV announcers who come to town for a day and a half, say, you know, Montgomery has resurrected this program. Well, yeah, to a certain extent he did. But Blankenship won 2 conference championships, won a Liberty Bowl, won 11 games in 1 season.
Yeah.
So, you know, they had 2 down years, but it's not like they fell off the face of the earth.
Right.
It wasn't like they had Keith Burns coaching them when they didn't win a game for a year and a half. So, yeah.
I redshirted a ton of guys, and that was a huge part of it. But it was fantastic to see this special group of seniors, Dane Evans, Cayden Lucas, Trent Martin, guys like that, Josh Atkinson, who made that catch right there in overtime, Flanders, who's set the single-season school record for rushing this year. He was a backup for half the season, and now he's run for more yards than any TU player ever. It was great to see them go out that way, and there you see Flanders with the game-winning touchdown.
All right, before we get out of here, what else we got?
Well, Ryan says TU looked really bad on the defensive side. Their secondary was getting beat so badly. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, the secondary was
It was
ouch.
trouble early on, and that's a Cincinnati team that had scored like 13 points in its previous 3 games combined. It was not a good effort.
Well, that one receiver, Geddes, who
sure.
caught those long passes, had only like 6 catches all season long.
Right.
So he was not a starter. In fact, he wasn't even on the depth chart before the game.
Wow.
And Tuberville said, what the heck, let's put these kids in there and see what they can do.
And that's what I mean by saying it's a fine line. If TU, no matter how good a season they're having, comes out and they're not ready to go, Cincinnati recruits generally a more highly regarded player or athlete than Tulsa does. So Tulsa can't just roll out there, go through the motions and pick up a victory like, Alabama could if they were playing Cincinnati. The margin for error is fine. They didn't really come out ready to play, didn't play well for much of the night. But that's what I'm saying. The thing that has been turned around more than anything else within that program over the last 2 years is a belief that we're going to come back and we're going to win.
Yeah. And here's our fingers are crossed that Montgomery is still coaching.
Well, you're hearing Dana Holgorsen, you're hearing Lincoln Riley as possible replacements for Tom Herman at Houston.
I know that Holgorsen has already talked to Houston.
So how about that? Yeah. So when you're talking about Lincoln Riley and Dana Holgorsen, you would assume that there's a good chance Philip Montgomery doesn't go to Houston. Right. Not saying that's a slam dunk, but so maybe. We'll see where the other dominoes fall and what other jobs might fit him. But he's recruited well.
Wouldn't you agree though that
he's not looking to get out?
If Houston wanted to be budgetary, they would go after Montgomery?
Say that again.
Budgetary wise. Holgerson's going to cost a lot of money. Sure. Riley's going to cost a lot of money.
And without that ticket to the Big 12, how much does Houston want to pay a coach? The Holgorsen thing had me scratching my head. I know that he really liked it there and feels like he can win there. He must know something about the West Virginia job that we're not aware of. Kind of like the Frank Haith, Missouri thing, you know what I mean? Where even though he's had a great year.
Maybe he's run out of party spots in Morgantown. Who knows?
Yeah. Can happen, I suppose.
Maybe they'll give him a Red Bull distributorship.
Doesn't have credit in any of the casinos anymore. He needs to find new casinos.
Right. Hey, he's got to find other things to do, man.
Houston's they don't have any in Houston.
You know,
gonna have to
maybe
go to
he's
Louisiana, I
maybe he's
guess.
just tired of drinking that, that
Moonshine?
moonshine. You never know. All right, we're out
possible.
of here. Another punt. You haven't missed a thing.
Yeah, we can do this for 30 more
Score's
minutes.
still the same.
Yeah, the score hasn't changed. And thanks for being with us. We'll see you
Bedlam.
Thursday. We have Dallas and Minnesota on Thursday
Big
night,
one,
so
huh?
we'll be here for the rant as well.
That's right.
Have a good one.
See ya.
Big Al's Rant with Cayden McFarland, powered by Jack Cassey Ford.